Say hello to the new Blue Band with vanilla. Double the yum with classic Blue Band flavor and rich creamy vanilla taste. New Blue Band with vanilla, the taste you love plus vanilla. Now available in stores countrywide.
Why keep your business in the dark? Shine a spotlight on your brand with Prime TV2.
Has been assaulted by the ant.
Zambia's first ever 24-hour news channel and a trusted platform that helps business grow.
Botswana, of course, behind me is the Kazongola Bridge. And
We broadcast on Topstar, Channel 110, DTH platform, and reach an expanding digital audience through our Facebook page, PTV2 Zambia.
project
9477. Prime TV2, the home of breaking news.
Hello, and it's a beautiful morning. Welcome to the Sunrise Breakfast Show here on PTV2, the home of breaking news. Remember, if you are watching us from your social media page and you want to change to go to the big screen, you can go to Topstar Channel 110 and Azam TV Channel 493. We have been bringing you special live broadcasts with Prime TV1 and Prime TV2, that's PTV2, and you've been enjoying the election update that started from last week until now. Now we know that there's a new president in the country, and we're all excited because we had been waiting for so long for the elections to come to pass. My name is Catherine Walia, and today we have a review of what has been going on and showing you some of the things that have been happening, as well as interviews with people to have a look and reflect on what it has been so far. And on the show, as always, I'm not alone, but with my beautiful co-host, Rhoda. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's great to be back. It feels a bit weird.
It does, because it
that
was
the
like
others
a
are
whole
not
crew.
here.
Yeah.
And we are back to just being the two of us.
Yeah.
Obviously, sometime Kizito, next week he'll be joining us on the program as well. But it has been indeed a jam-packed week.
Mm-hmm.
The other week was also jam-packed. We
Yeah.
had been preparing for, the election, and when you said we've got a new president, it sounded very
Like new.
Well, it's he's still the one,
Yeah.
but obviously, there's a lot of things that he has planned for this country, and we're definitely excited to get to know, what is going to follow after the announcement that President Hakainde Hichilema is back, as the president. There was a lot of celebration yesterday. When he was announced, people celebrated. There was a lot of, enjoyment. And of course, the Zambian people expect a lot, from the UPND government. But those are some of the things that we'll definitely get to talk about as we go on.
Over 116 districts and constituencies, and he had done his campaigns there. And so I think he feels like it's a well-deserved election. And I think we will bring just a clip of what he talked about yesterday. But Rhoda, is there anything that you can say about the election as it was, yeah. There was a lot of events.
Yeah.
Up to now, I think we still have a lot of, like conflicts maybe with members of parliament, because we know that, is it Chawama that was just announced yesterday? So we also know that there's some still contesting and feeling that they were not fairly treated in the election, and I think we're going to see a lot of petitions as the days go on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think one of the highlights of this election, Kathy, I should say, is that, there were a lot of, celebrations before the actual announcements by the ECZ. And
Yeah.
we saw that turn into, some people were angry, they were upset that their member of parliament won, but the ECZ was announcing something else. But we had mentioned earlier, when we started doing the breakfast show right here, that you need to wait, for verified announcements or information, either just here on Prime Television, or you wait for the ECZ to go live and announce the results. But people did not listen. They went ahead to post their own results, congratulating the members of parliament, and and it turned out that it wasn't so, as announced by the ECZ. So we saw a roller coaster of emotions from people, and that did not sit well. So next time, please listen to advice. Do not post these congratulatory messages before the actual message is sent by the ECZ. And also, we had mentioned to say use social media wisely, and obviously we did see people posting tribal remarks and things like that. I think we will also get to talk about that with Mr. Wesley Mianda, who's going to be joining us later on the program, just to get it from his perspective as a governance activist on how this election has been from the start until now, and what is expected from the government, and how the environment is when it comes to the Zambian people, and so on and so forth. But we'll be talking about that and so much more. And I think it's going to be a great conversation, just to put everything in one perspective.
Okay, so I think for now we can have a look at that address that the president made yesterday and listen to just the opening and what he said. Okay, we're still waiting for the clip, but it will be.
The Electoral Commission of Zambia declared our 2026 general presidential election results. We stand before you with profound humility and gratitude to accept the mandate that you have given us, yet to continue serving you, the people of Zambia. Our first words are that of thank you. Thank you very much to all of you for making a decision, this dramatic, historic decision, to allow us to continue serving you for another term of 5 years, God willing. We thank the Almighty God, whose grace has sustained our nation and preserved our peace. We thank the millions of Zambians who stood patiently in queues to exercise their democratic right to vote. We thank the millions of Zambians who, again, as citizens, have taken a clear direction of what they want their country to be. And this is what our democracy is all about. Choices of those that are to serve us for a period of time. In our case, 5 years. Thank you to you, the people of Zambia. Zambians have again demonstrated your love for democracy, your maturity, your resolve to make decisions such as to elect your leaders peacefully without exercising what I call negative behavior, veering on the side of negative behavior. We thank the Electoral Commission, the men and women in the Commission that have worked so hard to deliver this election. It's a challenge to run an election like ours. is complicated. It's not as simple as people think from the outside. So we thank them for that. All of them, without exception. Leadership, chair, commission, the staff, executive, the staff, and those support staff that were recruited to support the process in well over 13,500 polling stations. We had citizens, I think numbering over 80,000 in total, or thereabout, working to deliver this election. Thank you to you all. We thank you and respect the choice that you made as a people. Democracy, as I said, is there to guide us in a civilized way. And anything short of making decisions in a civilized way cannot save this country. Not for a day, not for a month, not for any period longer than that, because it will not sustain, or it will not be sustained. Here is the message. Whether you voted for this candidate then, and now president-elect, but still running as president under our constitution until they're swearing in, because there's no gap that obtains in our constitutional arrangement, it does not matter. You exercise your right to vote, to choose a leader you believe who will serve you to the best of, your needs. So we say to all of you, you're equal citizens. Those who voted for us, those who didn't, you're equal citizens. There's no discriminatory understanding of who voted and their favor. Those who didn't vote for us, they're not favored. The process allows us to elect leaders, yes, but once a leader is elected, you serve all of the people's army fairly, equitably. And that's what we demonstrated that we're able to do after the 2021 elections. We delivered free education to all our citizens across board without choice or segregation. We have delivered CDF to build new classrooms, desks, water and sanitation, more teachers to help improve the pupil-teacher ratio, lower that, contrary to what it used to be years back, when a teacher may have to save 150 pupils. Now the number is getting less and less as we continue to employ more teachers so that we can further improve the quality of education for all our children. But the most important thing is that our children have access to education, which they could not before. Many of our children were out of school. How do we know that? Once we introduced the free education policy, following our promises before 2021, we saw incrementally up to 2.6 million children have come back to school, including those who were elderly and could not complete their school for whatever reasons, but the circumstances did not allow. Some could have been financial, some could have been maybe a girl child got pregnant at grade 9 or so, but we have allowed, our policy has allowed any citizen to return to school, young, middle-aged, or whatever age. This is important, fellow citizens. And you know what I've always said, education is the best investment, it's the best equalizer and inheritance. And it's happening in your country. So, may I say, 5 years ago, you entrusted us with this responsibility. And in many cases, we walked, majority of the cases, overwhelming cases, we walked the talk. I've just cited free education. I'll cite another example, debt restructuring. We committed to you that the debt mountain, the default which was occasioned by those who were in office before us, was choking us as a people, like a python around our necks, waist and legs. But we've been able to unwrap that python now. And we've created headroom, space, revenues, savings, $1.9 billion of savings per year from debt service. And that's the money we've been able to apply in free education, enhancing CDF, and sustaining even things that we had not offered initially, examination fees being now taken care of by the government, your government. This is how we see public office, to serve you better without segregation without exception. May I say that the decision you have made, or you made a few days ago, on the 13th of August, to re-elect us into office is a serious show of confidence to us and our teams. And we don't take it for granted. We don't take it lightly. We take it very, very serious. And our obligation is to return that favor by serving you and serving you better. Citizens, fellow citizens, we've come a long way. Just reflect where we were 5 years ago, how difficult it was 5 years ago, in many respects. It's not just those who are in jobs that we've had to deal with in terms of disposable incomes, improved by, enhanced by free education, social cash transfer, which has been increasing over years, cash for work. It is things sometimes we don't pay attention to, such as what? The bursary for secondary school boarding kids. Many parents couldn't afford that. So on top of free education, there's another subvention which ameliorates, if you like, reduces the cost obligation to the parents and leaves more disposable income in the hands of the household with a CDF-anchored boarding school fees at every constituency. Never done before in the history of our country. Always bursaries were centralized. Now we've decentralized them. What other relief? Bursaries, scholarships, call them anything, for skills training. Carpenters, those who may not have been able to go to college, to go to university, now they've had the opportunity to do carpentry work, to do metal, to do bricklaying, to do plumbing, call it, name it. And now they have the opportunity to be given a contract to build a classroom block in their locality, in that constituency. That's how we understand amelioration of the cost of living. It's a myriad of these measures. And your government, this government, will continue doing so. But we also know that we can only do that if we continue to expand the economy, to grow the economy, to bring more investments, to attract more investments going forward. And indeed, the jobs will come out of there. What else? Business opportunities will come out of there. What else? Treasury income to complete the cycle. So we can cycle, so to say, not cycle. So we can look after the weak in society. Who are they? The young, through the education offerings, free education and attendant facilities. What else? The retirees, those that live with disabilities. In addition to us having provided for them the opportunity to get to Parliament after elections like this through the proportional representation aspect that we brought in through the legal reviews, reforms, constitutional and other secondary laws. It's an opportunity to now have more women in Parliament. It's an opportunity to have more youth in Parliament. 20 women, 15 youth in total, coming from different parties, depending on the election results. And 5 over.
Well, that was the president-elect who has come back into his second term, giving a national address. Now, Rhoda, the president did mention and talk about a lot of things. I know he talked about, gratitude. I mean, he thanked the Zambian people and he expressed deep humility to the Zambian people for granting him a second 5-year term, under the UPND ticket. So one other thing he mentioned is national unity and inclusion, he said he reached out directly to opposition voters and supporters of his main political affiliation. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I think the central message in this particular address was we need to maintain peace and unity. And I think the president's message of unity is very important in this particular address, he stressed that Zambia is the winner, and that is a very, very important message, and that public office should not be treated as a physical contest between opponents. And also, the question that we're asking today, how does President Hakainde Hichilema obviously turn an electoral victory into, something that people can definitely just get to understand? And, the emphasis on peace comes at an important point. The election was largely peaceful.
Yeah.
I think we did communicate with some of our reporters in various parts of the country, and they did say that it was peaceful. And the callers also that were calling in said overall it was peaceful from where they were voting from. Nobody communicated to say maybe there was violence or something that happened. But also, in as much as we are talking about peace, I think there were sort of some disruptions. We wouldn't call them violence as necessary, but overall it was very peaceful. And also he did emphasize that peace after a tense election. He emphasized the need to protect the peace that Zambia has enjoyed, particularly after we did see some incidents of violence and tension during the election and the counting process, which was obviously not much. And he said it is very significant because the election itself experienced some disruptions, including attacks at some polling stations and a temporary suspension of counting. And obviously a message to those that did not vote for him. He also did say that a key presidential challenge now is moving from campaign politics to governing for everyone. His re-election obviously gives him a mandate, but the opposition vote, particularly Brian Mundubile's roughly 38%, represents a substantial section of the country that also expects to be heard. And he also did emphasize that development remains the big expectation. The second term is likely to be judged less on promises and more on what ordinary Zambians actually experience, which is, of course, jobs, the cost of living, electricity supply. And yesterday I heard people saying, oh, obviously we're now going back to load shedding.
Yeah, I think that's been a great fear.
Yeah. Obviously business opportunities, food security, very important, and improved households income. And this is particularly important, Catherine, because although Zambia has made progress on debt restructuring and macroeconomic stability, we do know that many citizens continue to feel pressure from the cost of living and also economic challenges. And speaking of the economic transformation, very important, and President Hichilema's second term agenda is expected to move from economic stabilization to economic expansion, including investment, mining, and increased copper production. And of course, we know that government has an ambition to substantially increase copper production and create more jobs. So all in all, that message was very important, very timely, and all in all, I think peace is very important, and we must continue to just maintain peace and unity as a country.
Yeah, definitely. Rhoda, I think the president did call for unity and peace, but it's obviously the supporters that don't seem to get it. The supporters of different parties, like those for the UPND and also for the main opposition, because we saw how social media, for example, and just like even in Livingston, there was a raid on some shops and they were looting some things. So they don't seem to get that peace message, because even the opposition for the NRPP also sent a peace message to his supporters. Because, I kept thinking about how politics are almost like similar to football. When you are supporting Arsenal or Liverpool, because I remember a season when because one of my sisters, does support Liverpool, because I'm not so that into football, but because of her, I started watching her team, and this past season they didn't do so well, and I could see her still supporting the team, and she was disappointed that they didn't do so well and somebody else took the cup and whatever football is about. I think Jeremiah can educate us more on that. But when you lose as opposition, you are not supposed to desert your party and join the ruling party or whichever party has won. You don't have to feel pressured because now you are embarrassed of the loss. Because like football, there's winning and losing, and it's part of the team. And you as well, who are the winners, you're not supposed to, like taunt the ones that have lost, because that's what it is. There was supposed to be a loser and a winner.
Exactly.
And if you win, you should be happy and celebrate. But comfort your friends and say, you know what, better luck next time. And I think that spirit in football has really managed to keep the game going.
Yeah.
Because if people will be throwing stones every time they lose, they are throwing stones at the losing team, or really just laughing and doing all these things in their faces, we wouldn't still have football.
Like Man U fans, very loyal.
Yeah, they'll never change. They'll stay like that. And it's okay to be in the opposition, because one day you may find yourselves as the governing party.
Yeah.
So what follows now is the question: what happens? Do we see an inauguration of the president in the next few years? But we were just discussing that from reports that we've noted on several media pages, outlets, including the BBC, an interview that the losing candidate had with one of the reporters there. He indicated that he's going to, together with his party, contest the seat again and petition.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's something to look forward to and see how that unveils.
Now, after that was said, Catherine, maybe something else that we could talk about, or maybe I would love to get your angle on this particular issue. A lot of people are asking, what about trust in the electoral process? The president has won and the ECZ has announced the results, but there are opposition concerns, like you mentioned, surrounding aspects of the election process. International observers also raised concerns about legal uncertainties and unequal campaign conditions. So beyond accepting the winner, how do we ensure that, every Zambian has the confidence in the process that produced, the results or the winner?
Yeah. I think it's really addressing some of the issues that people were not happy with. As ECZ, we trusted that they would manage the process without giving people a lot of, what can I say, sort of like reasons to doubt. Because even the observers, the international observers and the local observers, saw things that they reported on in their preliminary reports on the elections. I think, like you are saying, they raised some issues. So it's things like stopping vote counting in the process of an election. That's never happened, and people are questioning, why did you do that? And it can be a reason for people to doubt the process. There were things like people getting into the polling station to grab the ballot boxes, and the ECZ themselves reported that they had ballot boxes stolen and missing. It's things like tampering with the GIN 20 copies that were an important tool in the announcement of the elections. So all those issues raising concerns, and if those issues could be addressed, maybe even just the ECZ talking about what happened, giving a report on what happened, could bring back that trust that people had in them. But as it is, the opposition saw those flaws and they want to petition the commission. Actually, I think that's the one that's going to be petitioned. I don't know if it's the president or the commission, but I think it's most likely the commission that's going to be petitioned to answer to some of those questions.
Yeah, absolutely. But also maybe just to summarize, what has been happening in terms of the election. President Hakainde Hichilema secured a second term with about 60.5%, while Brad Mundubile emerged as the main opposition challenger with about 37.9%. But of course, beyond the numbers, this election revealed, several things. The electorate has spoken, but it has also sent a message. The president's victory gives him a clear mandate, but the sizable opposition vote shows that significant part of the country remains unconvinced or wants a different direction. So the economy was a major deciding factor. Government could point to debt restructuring and macroeconomic recovery, while opposition messaging focused heavily on the fact that many citizens still experience the economy through the cost of living, jobs, electricity, and household pressure. So the election also reminded us, very important, that democracy is bigger than the winner. So obviously there were peaceful aspects to the election, but also troubling incidences of violence, disruptions to counting, and allegations concerning the electoral process. Those issues cannot simply disappear because the results have been announced and probably have to be looked into as we move on as a country. So the second term changes the conversation. We know now that the president no longer has to convince voters that he deserves an opportunity, but he now has to demonstrate what he can do with the opportunity that has been given to him, by the Zambian people. And also, as we close the chapter on not really like closing, because we'll still have these conversations throughout this entire week, and we're going to be having guests just to analyze what has been going on. Perhaps the biggest takeaway is that this was not simply about who won or lost, Catherine. It was about what Zambians want from their leader or from their leadership. And President Hichilema has secured another mandate, but that mandate comes with expectations, a lot of expectations. Like I said, economic growth that reaches ordinary households, jobs, better service, peace, accountability, and a government that, of course, represents even those who did not vote for it. And the campaign is over, the ballots have been counted, but the real work begins. And ultimately, history will not judge this election only, but the percentage that President Hichilema received. Also, the Zambian people are still excited, and we haven't yet recovered from the announcements, but we're just definitely happy that this process is over, and we go back to our normal routines. Catherine.
Yeah, but also I know people may ask, so now what happens? Are we going to go to the Hero Stadium to see the president?
The inauguration?
Yeah, or what happens? So now, following an election of this nature, official results were declared by the ECZ, that's the Electoral Commission of Zambia, paving way for the new mandate for the new president. I keep saying the new president because he's new in office, So if the election is uncontested or upheld, the president-elect is sworn into office, as we know, 7 days after being declared the winner. In cases where the election outcome is challenged, aggrieved candidates have a constitutional period to file a petition with the Constitutional Court, which holds the inauguration until the court hears and rules on the matter. And the opposition, or whoever is petitioning, must do this within 7 days. If that elapses, then there's no going back. The president has to be inaugurated. And the case hearing is given a period of 14 days. So they petition in the first 7 days, and then the hearing happens in 14 days. So once inaugurated, the president forms executive cabinet and sets the national agenda alongside a concurrently elected National Assembly. The outcome shapes the country's legislative priorities, governance policies, macroeconomic trajectory, and international partnerships over the subsequent 5-year term. Zambia's post-election periods have historically been defined by a strong adherence to constitutional order and peaceful democratic handovers. So even through this petition, if it does happen, we expect that everything will be done orderly through the courts, and a final decision will be reached, and we will know what follows afterwards.
Yeah.
But for now, we want to take a short break.
Before we go for that short break, Catherine, maybe we can also just, you know, also say that we're happy to see that there are also members of parliament that were not standing on the UPND ticket that are, you know, just happy and willing to work with the president. And that is the unity and peace that we want to see. The newly elected member of parliament for Mwandi, Iris Kaingu, did post that, you know, she's very happy and she's looking forward to working with the president, even after, you know, that incident that we saw earlier on.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to see that, you know, people actually looking forward to working with the government of the day.
Definitely, and that's what we want. It doesn't mean if you're in the opposition, then you can't work with the current government, because then why are you politicking? Because politicking is also trying to make things better for your country and the area maybe where you've been elected. So we're happy to hear those remarks by Iris.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see the weather. Let's see how the weather looks like this morning as we get to prepare for various activities wherever you might be. I think before you step out of the house, it's very important that you read the weather, you see how the weather is going to unfold for the rest of the day. All right, that is what the weather looks like this morning. And now let's turn our heads to our money markets and see how the kwacha is performing against other international currencies. Right, so the US dollar is buying at 18.65 kwacha and selling at 19.2 ngwe. And the euro is buying at 21 kwacha 57 ngwe and selling at 22 kwacha. The Great British Pound is buying at 25 kwacha 18 ngwe and selling at 25 kwacha 65 ngwe. And the South African Rand is buying at 1 kwacha 14 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 16 ngwe. And those are your money markets today. Yeah,
it's
great.
We want to have some euro. Is that pound? Some pound. What was higher there? Imagine. I think that you know, I want some of the highest. Yeah. Okay. But anyway, we're also talking about the current issues regarding the election of our President-elect, President Hakainde Hichilema, who gave his thankful address yesterday in the afternoon, and we played a clip of that, and we've deeply discussed what he said regarding his new term. But we know that we live in a community. You know, Zambia is not an island. Actually, at school, the one thing we learned is, and they emphasize, that Zambia is a landlocked country, you know, surrounded by its other countries. And so we did receive messages of congratulations from the presidents from the SADC region who sent in their messages congratulating President Hakainde Hichilema for his new term. We have South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, who said that the president, who congratulated the president and the people of Zambia on conducting a peaceful democratic process He reaffirmed South Africa's commitment to strengthening bilateral economic relations, regional trade, and strategic cooperation with SADC. And we also had President Emerson Mnangagwa, who is from Zimbabwe, as you know, who commended the peaceful environment during the vote and expressed a readiness to deepen the historic bilateral and cross-border partnerships between the two neighboring nations and the Binational Commission framework. Kenya also sent its message through William Ruto, applauding the triumph of democracy and civic maturity in Zambia. His message highlighted the importance of continental unity, and trade integration and AFCFTA, and expanding Kenya-Zambia diplomatic and commercial ties. We also had a message from Lazarus Chakwera from Malawi, who praised the peaceful outcome and democratic resilience of the Zambian people. He emphasized the strong neighborly bonds, shared cultural heritage, and ongoing regional economic collaboration between Malawi and Zambia. Botswana, President Mokgweetsi Masisi, regional leadership, who was in the country also observing the elections, expressed solidarity and warm felicitations, hailing the electoral process as a testament to the growth of democratic governance and political stability in the SADC region.
Oh, absolutely amazing. All right, so now away from the election issues, we are back, and on our health tips today, we're talking about intermittent fasting. I think there's a lot that I will be talking about today, and people might want to know what exactly is intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is an eating pattern that alternates between periods of eating and fasting. Common approaches, include 6 to 8, fast for 16 hours, and eat within an 8-hour window. So yesterday, Catherine, you were asking me about eating window periods, and this is what exactly I meant. So there are people that would definitely fast for 16 hours, a situation where you get to delay your breakfast. You eat probably from 11 a.m. and your last meal is maybe at 8 p.m. and then you close your window. So you start again the next day at 11 a.m.
Wow. Okay, I want to hear you finish that
When
so I can
you
ask you
start,
questions.
I have tried that before. When you start,
Yeah.
you can't go back because it becomes like a habit. You adapt to that. And there's also 14 to 10. You fast for 14 hours. Eat within 10 window period, and often easier, for beginners. And then there's 5 to 2. You eat normally for 5 days and reduce your calorie intake on 2 non-consecutive days. So, yeah, some people will go for 2 days fasting.
2 days fasting.
You don't just eat anything, and then you eat for 5 days.
I've done that, but for spiritual reasons. So people would just declare that I'm not going to eat for 2 days because I want to. What? First of all, if I ask you, what is that for? What is the intermittent fasting for?
Well, intermittent fasting could be for any reasons. Like you said, spiritual, but mostly people do it because they want to, lose a few kilos, or they just want to stay healthy. But I'll tell you that I've tried, the no eating for a day. I almost died. So now you who tried it for spiritual reasons, how do you keep yourself busy and, away from thinking about food?
Yeah, I think I've gone for more than 2 days.
Ooh.
Yeah, without food. And it's very hard, especially the first day. The first day is the hardest because the body is used to getting food at certain times of the day, And so when you don't eat, first you feel faint, like you're going to collapse and die. And then the hunger, it's not hunger you can control. You have to be very strong-willed to go through the first day. So yeah, it's the hardest, but you take a bit of water. So I would in the morning wake up and take a bit of water and then stay through the day. So because it's for spiritual reasons, I would make sure that I'm doing something, maybe reading my Bible or listening to something motivating. Yeah, and just being away food. You have to be realistic. Like if you are around food, you may say, "Oh wow!" After a go, if you're like, "I'm fasting," people fast for different reasons. So maybe you're fasting you're praying over something. If it's for religious reasons, and you're like, "I think God will understand. I'll just eat. I'll just eat." Yeah. So the first day is the hardest, but the second gets better. The body begins to adjust, and you're not thinking so much about food. The third day, you're like, oh, I can go on for another day, like this. But one thing that you do is you become weaker. So yeah, getting out of bed is difficult, but as you go through the day, you become stronger.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
It's almost like, the cutting off sugar and carbs. I think the first few days you struggle because your body is going through changes. You also notice that you start shivering a
Really?
bit because
Even to stay away from sugar?
Yeah, because you are getting your energy from there, and now you want to go completely off carbs and sugar. Your body is transitioning, but I think over time you start getting used to it. But anyways, back to intermittent fasting. So one of the health benefits of intermittent fasting is weight management. So one of the strongest reasons people use intermittent fasting is weight control. During the fasting period, insulin levels generally just fall, and the body increasingly relies on stored energy. If can also, naturally reduce the number of calories someone consumes because there is a shorter period in which you get to eat. So studies generally find that intermittent fasting can produce modest weight loss, particularly when it helps someone maintain a sustainable calorie deficit. But it isn't also necessarily superior to conventional calorie restriction. For many people, its advantage is that the eating structure is simpler to follow, when you do intermittent fasting. Also, another health benefit is improved blood sugar control. So, intermittent fasting may improve insulin sensitivity and also help to regulate blood glucose in some people. When we repeatedly eat, particularly carbohydrate-rich meals, blood glucose rises and insulin is released. So longer periods without food actually gives insulin levels some time to fall. Some studies have also found improvements in fasting glucose and insulin sensitivity, particularly among people with overweight or metabolic problems. However, this is important for your program. People taking diabetes medication should not start fasting without medical advice because fasting can dangerously lower blood sugar with some medications. Overall, improved metabolic health. It may also affect several markers associated with metabolic health, including blood sugar, insulin sensitivity, triglycerides, body weight, waist circumference, some cholesterol measures. So the improvements are often partly related to weight loss and reduced calorie intake rather than fasting itself being a magic metabolic switch. It also helps with your heart health. Some researchers do suggest that intermittent fasting can improve cardiovascular risk factors such as blood pressure, like we said, blood sugar, body weight, insulin resistance as well. But we should be careful about saying that, intermittent fasting prevents heart attacks or strokes. There isn't enough evidence to make this particular claim, Also, it reduces inflammation. Intermittent fasting is being studied for its potential effects on inflammatory pathways. Some studies report reductions in certain markers of inflammations, especially when fasting leads to weight loss. However, fasting also removes toxins and inflammations from the body. So the body already has organs such as the liver and kidneys that handle waste and metabolism. Also for brain health, sometimes when you overeat and you do not take rest from eating, your brain just overall becomes congested and you fail to think. Take for instance, how we eat, as Zambia's breakfast, lunch, supper. Sometimes skip one meal for your own health.
Definitely.
But it also improves, quite a number of things. But also, one thing I should say, or one thing is important to know, you should speak with a healthcare professional before fasting. Includes, pregnant or breastfeeding women, children, teenagers, people with diabetes, especially those using glucose-lowering medication, people with a history of eating disorders, people also who are underweight or malnourished, people taking medications that need to be taken with food, very, very important, people with certain chronic medical conditions. And fasting causes fainting, severe weakness, confusion, persistent dizziness, or other concerning symptoms. So stop and seek medical attention before you get into intermittent fasting. What you can do while fasting is drink a lot of water. Catherine did mention that, one of the things that she did while she was fasting is drinking a lot of water so that you stay hydrated. So for most forms of intermittent fasting, the goal is to avoid calories during the fasting window. Common choices include water, plain sparkling water, unsweetened tea, black coffee, or just green tea. Adding sugar, honey, cream, or milk means that you're no longer having a truly calorie-free fast. Keep yourself busy while you're fasting. It also helps you to, not just think about food at that particular time, because trust me, you will think about food.
Definitely.
So those are some of the health benefits of intermittent fasting, Catherine. Anything interesting that you picked out from that?
Yeah, I think, many times when you are fasting, you have a foggy mind and you're like, what's happening to me? Like, you can't think clearly. Yeah, so I think that's one thing I heard that I've experienced, that happens to me. Besides the weakness, it's like you feel like there's something emptying in your mind. And when you say it's good for detoxing, because afterwards you feel so light, you feel so clear-headed, you just feel different, like you're new in some way that is not even explainable. So I think and I've heard reports about how it has been used as a healing agent for some diseases.
Okay.
Because some of the minor things that people struggle with, even things like gastritis, is it gastritis, whatever they say. Yeah. So it's like if you stay without food, sometimes you suffocate some of that bacteria, and it cannot live longer than maybe a day or so without food. Yeah. So people have recommended intermittent fasting and fasting itself for healing of some of the small things that trouble people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we continue with our Sunrise Breakfast show. On the other side, we'll get to connect with Mr. Wesley Mianda, who is a governance activist, just to highlight a few things on the election period that we just had, and also going forward, what, people are expecting from our newly elected president. But for now, we take a short break. We'll be back on the other side to get into that and so much more.
This is Mwamba, the Deco Queen. She turns spaces from mayo to wow. She could fly to China for new products, but why pick jet lag when you've got the Airtel Money Global Pay Card? No flights, no visas, just browse, pay, done. A pay card in the Airtel Money section of the My Airtel app and top it up straight from your wallet.
Airtel Money, instant, secure, board.
Say hello to the new Blue Band with vanilla. Double the yum with classic Blue Band flavor and rich creamy vanilla taste. New Blue Band with vanilla, the taste you love plus vanilla. Now available in stores countrywide.
Why keep your business in the dark? Shine a spotlight on your brand with Prime TV2.
Has been assaulted by the ant.
Zambia's first ever 24-hour news channel and a trusted platform that helps business grow.
Botswana, of course, behind me is the Kazongola Bridge. And
we broadcast on Topstar, channel 110, DTH platform, and reach an expanding digital audience through our Facebook page, PTV2 Zambia.
Projects that have been dotted across the country.
Advertise with us today. Contact our marketing team on 0978 719477. Prime TV2, the home of breaking news.
Early in the morning, fire on the stove, love in a pie, that's the life we know. From the fields to the table, every bite it shows. Primarily me, the taste of home. Primarily me, the taste of home. Primarily me, the taste of home. Mama in the kitchen, we never eat alone. Primarily me, the taste of home.
Prime Mill Meal, pure, proudly Zambian, the taste of home.
Welcome to New World of Entertainment in Zambia. Cartoons, music, news, movies, drama, series, documentaries, food, travel, the best from Hollywood and Bollywood, international football, including CAF competitions, La Liga, Serie A, German Bundesliga, Saudi League, Carabao Cup, Asian Championship, Barclays Women's League, local leagues, and much more. Grab your Azam TV decoder at 350 Zambian Kwacha and full kit at 589 Zambian Kwacha. Affordable monthly packages, 100 Zambian Kwacha, 200 Zambian Kwacha, and 300 Zambian Kwacha. For more details, contact us on 971-246-222, 763-664-455. WhatsApp 77-500-0013. Azam TV, entertainment for everybody.
henna muligisi idekoda ya Topstar amwebele magani etela magani muhyogo yonse yajihi ana majaja wa Prime TV2 channel 110 ninganda ile tamagani mbwabele.
Welcome to New World of Entertainment in Zambia. Cartoons, music, news, movies, drama, series, documentaries, food, travel, the best from Hollywood and Bollywood, international football, including CAF competitions, La Liga, Serie A, German Bundesliga, Saudi League, Carabao Cup, Asian Championship, Barclays Women's League, local leagues, and much more. Grab your Azam TV decoder at 350 Zambian Kwacha and full kit at 589 Zambian Kwacha. Affordable monthly packages, 100 Zambian Kwacha, 200 Zambian Kwacha, and 300 Zambian Kwacha. For more details, contact us on 971-246-222, 763-664-455. WhatsApp 77-500-0013. Azam TV, entertainment for everybody. Welcome to New World of Entertainment in Zambia. Cartoons, music, news, movies, drama, series, documentary, Serie A, German Bundesliga, Saudi League, Carabao Cup, Asian Championship, Barclays Women's League, local leagues, and 300 Zambian Kwacha. For more details, contact us on 971-246-222, 763-664-455. WhatsApp 77-500-0013. Azam TV, entertainment for
Thank you so much for staying with us on our Sunrise Breakfast Show. You're still with us. Of course, we have quite a number of issues to unpack. You can also join in the conversation by simply joining us on Facebook. That is PTV2 Zambia. Leave your comments and your contributions in our comment section. Now, Zambia after the election, what does the second mandate mean for democracy and governance? Joining us online is Mr. Wesley Mianda, who is a governance activist and also a human rights expert. Good morning, Mr. Wesley Mianda. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Rhoda, and good morning, our good viewers.
Absolutely. Zambia has now gone through the election. The results have been announced, and the president, Hakainde Hichilema, has been given another 5-year mandate. At this point, from a governance perspective, what should be the biggest takeaway from this election?
Thank you very much. First of all, allow me to congratulate President Hakainde Hichilema for being re-elected for the second term. Yeah, this has given a significant milestone to this country because the man already has a lined-up program looking at what he spelled out from the party manifesto and looking at all those plans, good plans that he has for this country. So, first of all, we can also congratulate the people that were in this political competition, Brian Munduvile Makebizulu, and Citizens First, and this is, Harkalava and Membe, the others. More importantly, we also need to congratulate the only Mutinta that we had in this race, in the name of Given Katuta.
Yeah.
She was the only female presidential candidate that we had. And she really deserved support from all of us, especially fellow women. But unfortunately, no one saw it fit to give that support. And that's how she lost it out. Okay, and we would also love to thank the people of Zambia for actually being peaceful. Though, of course, we've had some pockets of political violence reported some parts of the country, but in a nutshell, this was contained by our able law enforcement agencies, who were later on joined by Zambia Army. So now, looking at this scenario, we would love to maybe see the president actualizing, fulfilling most of his campaign promises that he gave Zambians. Because it is a matter of continuing where he had stopped, okay, in all sectors of the economy. We may talk about certain achievements that the president did in his first term, but some of the projects are still going on, because it's not that when somebody promises, then those promises will have to be fulfilled within the shortest period of time. There are some promises which need a bit of time. We call them long-term projects. And we also have short-term projects. Those that are short-term, most of them actually were done. But he first of all started by embarking on debt restructuring, which of course triggered some areas. Like in this case, after that debt restructuring, Zambia was given some kind of a relief, okay, some kind of, time in which to pay back, and, a certain amount of money was released, was agreed upon that this is what Zambia is supposed to pay. So with that in mind, it means that we are not to pay this Congole at once. We have been given that.
Damiana, before we get into those issues in details, maybe just a summary of what we can take away from this election process or period that we had.
There's a lot, and it's like this election was a bit different from these other elections that we had, and even by ECZ actually came out and said, no, this is a different election. But now I want us maybe to look at how different that was. Yeah, because an election is an election. It's just a competition of ideas. But this one, in a nutshell, we seem to have a lot of lessons that we need to learn, including the people who are running the ECZ, officials. Even us as politicians, even politicians and us governance experts had a lot of lessons to learn, and there are certain things that we feel were a bit strange, were a bit new to us, going forward. Yeah, but look with maybe for example, you will find that the election, the political atmosphere seemed to be a bit quiet, a bit cool, a bit peaceful. But we realized that it's not as peaceful as one would think. A lot has been brewing, in the background. And that's the reason why we could experience some pockets of political violence where maybe some people, we even ended up losing lives, Rhoda. Kaputa here in John Lang, and,
Hello, Mr. Mianda, are you still there?
and in Magoy, yes, and that's and at the same time, Rhoda, we had issues to do with the current situation where some people actually up to today we are not sure as to where they are, and others also wanted to flee from this country and so on and so forth. But all in all, the actually political atmosphere was actually contained by our able law enforcement agencies. That we were able to, one, see the campaigns coming to the conclusion, okay, and then after the campaigns, the day of voting, we never experienced any political violence, and because our men and women in uniform, I think, were in control, especially after being joined by Zambia Army, working hand in hand with Zambia Army, we saw some kind of sanity and people voted peacefully. Yeah, but then when it came to the issue of results, and maybe that's where we experienced some kind of issues, where people, members of the opposition, of course, came out and declared, victory, and that also triggered, some pockets of violence here and there. People started celebrating prematurely, which of course was not okay. So meaning from this election, Zambians actually have a lot of lessons to learn going forward. And these actually should be actually in our minds, so that come next time when we have similar elections, people sometimes need to actually, avoid certain things. I'm trying to avoid a situation where some people were arrested and over here and there, but that I wouldn't love us to dwell much on it. Why? Because this is something strange that we wouldn't love to have in mind as the Zambians, because we may end up mentoring some people somewhere so that they realize and know that, okay, there are these issues. And, we are living in the world of technology where people do start, going through their Google, their internet, just to get more information about the current, happenings. But we wouldn't love to go that direction. Why? Because Zambia is a Christian nation, and Zambia is also a democratic nation, where we deliberately allowed more political beliefs to come on board and see how we can add value to our democracy.
All right, with that said, Mr. Mianda, let's talk about the president's national address. In his address yesterday, President Hichilema spoke about his victory and the direction of the country. What did you hear in that speech in terms of, the president's priorities for his second term?
Thank you very much. Rhoda, you are posing this question as if you knew very well that I really followed the statement. But this happened when I was actually somewhere at the NBC, and I followed the statement closely. I got a number of points there. To start with, the president was in a hurry to thank the people of Zambia for that overwhelming support that was given through the votes that he received. And he promised that he stated clearly that he would not take that for granted. He's here to perform to people's expectations. And he also talked about, us as Zambians. His emphasis was that we should not go to the extent of trying to laugh or maybe downplay, those that have lost the election, maybe members of the opposition, and maybe as a ruling party, they try to jubilate, trying to be funny here and there. He said, no.
Hello, Mr. Okay.
To harass anybody, okay? and there to harass anybody, okay? And that was a very valid point. Then he also talked about the work culture. He said that we need to work hard as Zambians. We need to maintain peace at Zambia, one nation. So those are some of the points that actually came. And when those that followed the president yesterday as he spoke, even his tone could show that actually the statement was coming from the president, who happens to be the father of the nation and is not there to intimidate, is not there to segregate people, but is there to rule the country and for the benefit of all Zambians, regardless of their political affiliation. I think those are the points that actually he looked at in his
Okay. So, Mr. Mianda, now healing after elections, this is very, very important, on today's program. We have a country that has just gone through a very competitive election with accusations and counter accusations along the way. What does genuine post-election reconciliation?
No, it's not enough. It's not enough. All I have to say is the healing process starts with all of us as the citizens of this country, because this involves our politicians and those of us who are supporting these politicians. And then, on the other hand, we also actually have to make an earnest appeal to those that lost this election. Whether one likes it or not, Rhoda, we'll talk about the winners and the losers here. Yeah, but then with that in mind, we are saying those that have lost the election actually have a lot to learn from people like, President Hakainde Hichilema himself, President Michael Sata, who lost the same election several times, but they never relented. They still moved on. They still went back to the drawing board to start from somewhere and continued pushing until at some point Zambians realized that actually these meant well, and they were given the mandate. President Michael Sata was given the mandate. He ruled this country. President Hakainde Hichilema was given the mandate in 2021 after losing elections several times. So with this, we are trying to say people that have lost, the members of the opposition that have lost the election, that's not the end of the world. This is their country, and we still regard them as our own potential leaders. They should not resort to any form of violence, because look, even when Sata lost, he never thought of mobilizing his supporters. I'm not alone. Confusion. Even when the President Hakainde Hichilema lost several times, even Mazoka lost, but they never thought of taking a step of mobilizing. Long way to go, and that's how they decided to remain peaceful, but still, active enough to ensure that they continued pushing their political agenda until time came for Zambians to give them the mandate. This is what we need to expect from our brothers and sisters, our own potential leaders in the opposition, that their loss does not mean that they should go to the extent of causing havoc in the country by probably telling their supporters to go against the government, where now we'll have a situation where this country will remain ungovernable. We don't want to have that situation, because we are one people. This is just an election, and we now have to focus our attention on what needs to be done going forward, so that we look at how we are going to address the cost of living. We look at how we are going to grow the economy. We look at how we are going to go forward, so that even the outside community should be able to appreciate that we are still a peaceful country and very politically stable, and that will even end up attracting
parliamentary committees.
Come up again.
Beyond State House, what should we be watching in Parliament? How important are strong parliamentary committees, an independent judiciary, the media and civil society in keeping the executive accountable during this second term?
Yeah, I've gotten your question correctly, but to start with, I think President Hakainde Hichilema is on record. He stated clearly that he does not take this support for granted. He's here to perform to people's expectation. Now, we need to understand that we are the kingmakers. The voters themselves are the kingmakers. They are the main decision makers, and these are the people that actually make governments by voting. With this in mind, President Hakainde Hichilema and the entire cabinet that is going to form should understand that he still remains accountable to the people of Zambia who have engaged him, who have given him that mandate to run the national affairs. Meaning to say, he is our employee who should be coming back to give us feedbacks as to whatever is happening and how the national resources are being spent on which projects, why and how much. So this is the kind of accountability that needs to be seen, and the civil society organizations, church leaders, all of us as governance experts and activists, that should include Parliament itself, should work hand in hand to ensure that we hold this executive accountable, because they are the initiators and we need to ensure that they work and they perform to our expectation. So we are there to monitor them. We are not there to sing even where they are not doing a good job. We expect them to perform to our expectation, and there must be some kind of transparency, accountability in the manner these state resources are going to be used and how these state institutions are going to operate. That is what we expect. That's what we need to do as Zambians. Meaning to say, we will not sit back. Others, we are part and parcel of the governance system of this country, and therefore we have to continue, holding, the executive accountable until they do that which we feel is the right thing they're doing.
Now, Mr. Mianda, we are already seeing people interpreting electoral results through regional or ethnic lenses. How dangerous is this narrative, and how should political leaders the media in general discuss regional voting patterns without turning them into tribal divisions?
That's a very serious question, Rhoda, to start with. Zambia is one. When you look at the way President Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, our founding father, actually managed the national affairs at that time, I think we have a lot to learn from this man, because he managed to bring all the tribes together. That's how he came up with the national motto of One Zambia, One Nation. And when we look at the combination, those of us who were old enough at that time, actually, we knew and we saw that he drew his cabinet members from all the 9 provinces. By then, we only had 9 provinces. So he drew most of his cabinet members from the 9 provinces. He had nothing to do with tribe. He had nothing to do with region. That point, before I come to your question. Now, this is the kind of picture that we expect our leaders to look at, because Zambia is bigger than all of us. Now, going forward, when you look at the current situation, you look at the current crop of politicians that we have, I'm sorry to mention that most of these leaders are puffed up with selfishness, and they've actually taught us to be tribal. They taught us to be regional in the manner they speak, in the manner they do their campaigns, in the manner they come up with issues of national importance. So we have come to learn more about tribe. we have come to learn more about region. Now, look at how the voting pattern was. It clearly shows that if we are not careful, this country will be divided into regions. This country will be divided on tribal lines. And that will be a very grave mistake that we're going to make, because what lesson are we teaching the upcoming generation? What are we trying to look at when doing our politics? This actually be a changed system where now we need to realize that Zambia should remain one and Zambia should remain united. This issue of tribe, Rhoda, it's a bit strange to us as Zambians, because currently, Rhoda, I cannot talk against a Bemba, because you know what the reason? My firstborn is married to the Chinyanta family, the Bemba. And I have my own grandkids who are Bembas. What of my second-born daughter? My second-born daughter is married to somebody coming from, Zimbabwe. Meaning, I have Shonas within my own family. What of my third-born? My third-born is actually married to somebody coming from Eastern Province. So we have become one big community which cannot easily be separated. Why? Because we have gone into intermarriages. We have gone into other arrangements that have ended up keeping us together. So the issue of tribe here does not arise, does not make sense to me. Now, even on the issue of regions, why should we talk about the region? Because go to Southern Province today, you'll find people in Eastern Province. You find people from Eastern Province, people from Northern Province. They are settled there. They are doing business. You go to Mukush today, you go to Copperbelt, Lufanyama, you find the Tongas there. Lenges have settled there. They are part of that no particular community. Why? Because we are one. So with this kind of voting pattern that we have come to see, that it will end up actually so divisive that they don't realize where we are coming from and where we're going. And this, for sure, has to change before it's too late. Our appeal goes to these same politicians. They should not drag us into such arrangements where Zambia is going to be divided into regions. The Westerners will have to be voting for somebody coming from Western Province. The Northerners should vote for somebody coming from Northern Province. That arrangement, I think, is deadly, and it has to be dropped. It has to be changed going forward. And this depends on the politicians themselves. Let's be careful with the way we are doing things. Otherwise, Zambia will end up, being divided the way we wouldn't love to see.
Okay. Now, Mr. Mianda, what would be your last message to the Zambians watching at this particular time this morning?
Of this country, there's time for politics, but there's also time for development. The current situation is not all that stable, because already the people that have lost this election opt to go to court. They are talking about petitioning the election results. So meaning we still have a long way to go. But meanwhile, on the other side, the country has to move on. Development has to continue. Activities have to continue. So all we are saying is, as these things are happening, let's remain focused and look at the bigger picture of what we intend to become as a country. Let's stop talking about tribe. Let's stop talking about regions. Let's stop talking about all these pet issues. Let's look at how we are going to work to support the government of the day and how we are going to drive this country forward to ensure that we actually, develop all sectors of the economy. Talk about industrialization, where we can talk about manufacturing, which we can actually promote, because we have a lot of, raw materials that we can still turn into exportable goods. so as to earn more foreign exchange. So this depends on the peace. This depends on the unity that we should have as Zambians, because where there's no peace, where there's no unity, you don't expect any development to take shape. Let's move on as Zambia, as a Christian nation and as a democratic state.
Absolutely, Mr. Me, and thank you so much for joining us and helping us unpack not just the outcome of this election, but what it means for our democracy and governance going forward. The ballots may have been counted and the election may be over, but of course, accountability, good governance, and citizen participation cannot end with the election. Thank you so much for your insights this morning.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me for this very important interview, Rhoda, and good morning.
All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Wesley Mianda, governance activist and human rights advocate, simply shedding more light on, the election and, of course, the outcome and how leaders going forward should newspaper headlines.
Say hello to the new Blue Band with vanilla. Double the yum with classic Blue Band flavor and rich creamy vanilla taste. New Blue Band with vanilla, the taste you love plus vanilla. Now available in stores countrywide.
Why keep your business in the dark? Shine a spotlight on your brand with Prime TV2.
Has been assaulted by the ant.
Zambia's first ever 24-hour news channel and a trusted platform that helps business grow.
Botswana, of course, behind me is the Kazongola Bridge. And
we broadcast on Topstar, channel 110, DTH platform, and reach an expanding digital audience through our Facebook page, PTV2 Zambia.
Projects that have been dotted across the country.
Advertise with us today. Contact our marketing team on 0978 71 9477. Prime TV2, the home of breaking news.
Welcome to New World of Entertainment in Zambia. Cartoons, music, news, movies, drama, series, documentaries, food, travel, the best from Hollywood and Bollywood, international football, including CAF competitions, La Liga, Serie A, German Bundesliga, Saudi League, Carabao Cup, Asian Championship, Barclays Women's League, local leagues, and much more. Grab your Azam TV decoder at 350 Zambian Kwacha and full kit at 589 Zambian Kwacha. Affordable monthly packages, 100 Zambian Kwacha, 200 Zambian Kwacha, and 300 Zambian Kwacha. For more details, contact us on 971-246-222, 763-664-455. WhatsApp 77-500-0013. Azam TV, entertainment for everybody.
henna muli gisiide koda ya Topstar amwebere magani atugwa mu nchiri agasimpe amumasenamo mukala ambunga abahimuwezelela twambo mega abahimulimo twamwetela magani muhyogo yonse hajihi ana majaja wa Prime TV2 channel 110 ninganda ileta magani mbwabele.
morning. And I just want to say, Rhoda, that interview that you had with Mr. Wesley Nyanda was very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he brought out some very important points. And I think among them is, the talk about this press, like thoughts about the governance and how it's going.
Yeah.
Because the government can benefit from that. And I also love the fact that for the idea. I think I also like the fact that he talked about tribalism and how it is dangerous, and he referred to how Kaunda treated the different tribes that he was ruling. And I think having a man talk like that very neutrally about issues is a great thing. Yeah. And I think I enjoyed that discussion you had with him.
Absolutely. Very, very important at this particular time when, the nation is just coming from an election. Polls might have closed.
Yeah.
But life goes on. And he also emphasized that, the opposition should not take this defeat. You can also, during interviews or just advise government on one or two things, because at the end of the day, it's about the benefit of the country and not it being one-sided. So also we will definitely get to hear more voices from the opposition. This doesn't mean that the opposition must now disappear. And, you mentioned something very important that we haven't forgotten about them. They did extremely well. We have individuals that performed really well in some parts of the country.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Harry came third. Harry Kalavat for Citizens First came third, and he did well with 19,070 votes, having about 0.39% of the voters. And we also had Kelvin Walia, who was fourth. I think he did very well. This was his first time participating in the elections from Zambia Must Prosper. And we also had Fred Membe, who was fifth, Given Katuta, who was sixth. And people were saying that, no, you didn't support your fellow woman as women because she didn't receive a lot of votes. We had also Brian Mashimba, Organized People's Party, eighth. Ninth, Richard Silumbe. 10, Howard Kunda. Akim Jovu came 11. So he had a chance. Akim wanted to withdraw from the election. So 12th, Richwell Siamunene. And third, Daniel Pule and Xavier Chungo, of course, who was removed from the list, though he was appearing on the ballot paper. So I think that it's interesting. And maybe we saw a division of votes, and perhaps what the people have been calling for the opposition to do, which is to come together, has a lot of sense. Because if they could have teamed up, they could have had a lot more votes for one person than distributing them across 10 other people. So maybe this is something that the opposition should consider going forward. They could team up just for the elections and they win, and they can see how they can form a coalition government, and that will assure them a clear win. So that is that regarding who participated in the elections.
And obviously, as we reflect on the outcome of the 2026 presidential election, I'm so glad that you mentioned that she was the only female on the ballot, who appeared on the ballot, regardless of the final vote tally. We can say that, congratulations. It takes a lot of courage.
Definitely.
She is a very powerful woman, and she got some votes, in some other provinces that we can actually point at. And just being on the ballot is definitely a win. And she's not a newcomer when it comes to politics. If we remember very well, she served as Member of Parliament for Chiengi, representing the constituency for about 10 years. That was from 2016, and became known for being outspoken in Parliament. She did announce her intentions to run for presidency, or as an independent in 2025. So her candidacy was very, very significant because she was the sole woman seeking for presidency. That's definitely a win, which is, something that a lot of people should, definitely give her hands for.
We're so happy about, that result. And we're saying, can we have more women be part of politics? And we're also happy that we have our very own Iris Kaingo going to Parliament for the first time. And
you perhaps next time?
Of course, that I should think about.
You should go for it, Cathy.
I think so. I think we as women should be seen also to be part of the decision-making processes in our country. We shouldn't shy away.
Yeah.
I know politics can be rough, it can be tough, but we're equal to the task because you only have to be yourself and take your ideas. And if people get aggressive, you can retreat and say, I'm not part of that. But it's hard. But if Given could do it, it's a sign that anyone can do it.
And the other time we were doing the Daybreak Special, I think one of the callers asked to say, is that woman, a journalist or a politician? So for that question to come, probably they might have seen something in you. You need to start thinking about it. You've got about 5 years?
5 years. That's a lot of time for me to think about it. Well, anyway, on a sad note, we have an announcement of the death of Mayor-elect in Mbala who just died. The story reads that the newly elected Mayor of Mbala, District Steward Simutenda, has passed away in the early hours of today. Mr. Simutenda, who contested the mayoral election on the NRPUP ticket, reportedly died after an illness. The newly elected mayor had been hospitalized about a week before Thursday's elections after falling ill. Despite his health challenges, he went on to participate in the election and was subsequently elected mayor of Mbala. His death comes less than a week after the election, cutting short what would have been his tenure in office. Further details surrounding his death and funeral arrangements are expected to be announced by his family and relevant authorities. The death of Mr. Simutenda has sent shockwaves through Mbala, with residents and political supporters expected to pay tribute to the late mayor-elect in the coming days.
Wow.
That is very sad. Yeah, extremely sad. I think I'm sure he heard, he could have been told that he was elected, and just to not even go and test the sweetness of your victory and just to die, that's really a sad story.
It is.
Yeah.
May his soul rest in peace. But let's get to turn to our newspapers right now and see what is making headlines. We will start with the News Diggers. If the directors are ready, okay, we'll start with the News Diggers. Obviously, a lot of headlines we expect are centered around the just ended election. We have a headline that says HH wins. Munduwile Makebi flee, seek refuge at UN agency in Lusaka. We have another headline here that says UPND chases 2/3 in Pale. ERB approved.
Wow. Am I on the same page as you are?
On the News Diggers?
Yeah. What's the headline there?
HH wins. Munduwile Makebi flee, seek refuge at agency.
I think that's, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Those are yesterday's. Today's says will petition, says NRPUP. And then riots in Petauke as election winners clash with losers. And also, I'm no fugitive, says Makebi's partner as abandoned vehicle is found. You cannot use militias to seek public office, says HH. So those are the stories on the News Diggers front page. And I think it's a fully packed newspaper that deserves reading today. Well, petition says NRPUP, so after all, it's not something that is hidden. The actually going to petition the elections and just seek justice on some of the things that they feel were not done right. And like we said in the opening today, we said it could be a lot of things. Maybe they are suing the president, we don't know. Maybe they're suing the electoral commission that is responsible for handling the voting process and also declaring the presidency. But we will definitely hear more as the story goes on. Like we said, it has to be made, the petition has to be made within a lot of substantial evidence, because the court cannot dwell on just accusations or things that they have no evidence or proof for. So we hope that they get to prepare the case well and present it before the judges at the Constitutional Court. And then we also have riots in Petaoke. I think we saw where people were throwing stones and causing a fire, lighting up fires. That clearly is not what we are talking about, or what we want. We had just Mr. Mianda coming here talking to us about peace. The president in his note said also to make sure that we observe peace. We could have had violence before, but now the elections are over. What's the point, of looting shops and doing all sorts of things? I think now we are saying it's time for things to get back to normal. If you have grievances, we have the Constitutional Court, we have the High Court, we have the subordinate courts, or wherever that the petitions are being accepted. Make sure that you use those approved forms of seeking justice and redress. And I think, Director, I don't know if we still have the papers, if you can bring up that so that the viewers can clearly follow what we are talking about and what the headlines are saying. Mundubile says, I am no fugitive. Makebi's partner says, I'm no fugitive, but they have found his car somewhere. And that also is a story that's unfolding. We will follow it up to see what happens in that case. Okay, so we can talk about, I think there's also this sub-headline which says, you can't use militia to seek public office. We've talked about it, and I think really it's an issue that Mr. Mianda, our governance expert, also talked about. I think that we need to preserve these opposition leaders because they still need to provide checks and balances to the ruling government. We still want to have opposition speak, and not just opposition in the background, but those that have got a definite voice that have received support from the public. So we know that these are very serious allegations. We want to see them conduct clear investigations and come up with proof that shows the people that this is actually what was happening. Because there's still, like Mr. Mianda said, there's still a lot of answers, questions that need answers, and the government itself has a lot of questions to answer. So by bringing such accusations, we're also asking them to answer some of the questions that have been raised by the opposition as well as the public on the disappearance of these people that they claim were part of this militia group. So yeah, also this is a developing story. We hope to see more come out in the news. We can move on to the Must newspaper, which has the biggest headline, it's time to work, focus on delivery of promises, Chisunka advises Hichilema.
Yeah, obviously, even in his address yesterday, the president did emphasize that there's a lot that needs to be done going forward, and just thanking the Zambian people for re-electing him. And he was also just emphasizing on the issue of peace and unity, because he does understand that it's not everybody that is happy with the outcome of the election. But also he did, assure the Zambian people that there's a lot that needs to be done, and there's a lot that they should be working on as a government going forward, which is very important as well.
Okay, we do have TIZ raises red flag on 16 constituencies. Ghana leading the demand for slavery reparations. And listen to the 1.8 million voters. Also, economist urges. Ex-ministers fate lesson to all, pledges to work for all. I think there are a lot of cases still that are running, that we're seeing with the constituencies. You know, there's been a lot of fighting, and some are still calling and saying, oh, here we have a dispute. There are people that are claiming to have been winners, even though we were announced as winners. So the cases are still going on. But also what I would like to say about this is that if you were declared a winner and you have all the necessary documents, maybe a video or the papers that were given to you, you can follow this up with the ECZ, because you know people are scared on the ground and they don't know what to do and where to go to ask whether they are still on the list of winners or not. But you can go to the ECZ and find out who was there, and if you have evidence that you were proved the winner, you can and the ECZ says your name is not there, but you have the evidence, that is the returning officer's announcement, or the polling station agents or presiding officer, or whatever they call them. If you have that, had evidence, go to court. And the window period, I think, for MPs is also, is it 15 days? But you need to go to court and ask what has to be done for you to petition. Because if you sit there and you have the evidence and everything and you are complaining, after that period elapses, you cannot challenge the election. So this is the time to get active and ask what has to be done. If you have evidence, you can go to court and you may probably win the case.
Yeah. There's also another interesting headline there that says ex-ministers fate lesson to all members of parliament. It's a very, very important statement. I think the other day we were talking about how, you know, do ministers when they're in office, or members of parliament, have like some sort of plan, like, oh, probably if I'm not in power anymore, then what is like my next, you know, move? And Paul Shingongo did say, you know, there are people that are just obsessed with power and they don't see themselves leaving power at that particular time. So this should be a lesson. There's so many members of parliament that have not been re-elected, and probably this is not what they were thinking at all. You know, they were thinking people still love me. But it also just tells you to say, when you are in power, when you are given that chance to govern or be a leader, do not take it for granted. You know, do what the people want. Bring development to these constituencies. You know, let people speak for themselves. Let your work speak for itself, and people will definitely re-elect you. There are members of parliament that we have seen that are just loved by their people, and there's no doubt about it. You could see the crowd during campaigns that this person is obviously going to be re-elected because of the development that they have brought to their constituencies. So this is what, you know, people should be saying about you. They shouldn't even be looking at comparing you to other names that are there, because they know that this person is doing a lot for us. But obviously also, you shouldn't take that as, no, I should stay in power forever. There comes a time also that you just feel like, I've served the people enough. I need to step down and give another person a chance. Fresh minds as well. You know, we've seen people step away from office just to rethink and re-strategize. And when they come back, people re-elect them because, you know, at least you gave somebody a chance and they did not perform accordingly. So let's not take that as, for the rest of my life, I'm going to be here. Now you could imagine what's going on in the minds of those members of parliament that have not been re-elected.
You know, in Zambia there's a tendency that when a minister or member of parliament leaves, they just go back to being, you know, regular people, and nothing much happens with them. And sometimes we've seen some of them go into bankruptcy. We've seen projects that they started just halt and nothing happens. So I think that you are right. Everywhere, I agree with every word that you have said. and work. Your work will make people love you. They will re-elect you, and then you can leave while people are clapping.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be by force that you are fighting for those votes. It should be embarrassing for you as a leader, as an MP, to go there and hustle out at the ballot boxes and steal and count and whatever. I think that if you do a good job, you won't have to fight. People will fight for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, people will fight for you and they will love you. So I think when people get into power, they become selfish. They forget that they're there because of the people, you know, and so they begin to push their own agenda. And when it's time for elections, that's when they remember, oh, it's actually those people with the power who voted me in. And now they either will vote me out, and if you're not sure of how you performed, you start hustling for the vote. So I think going on, Knight is very right in saying that be careful, learn a lesson. As you the incumbents should learn a lesson and make sure that they do right
and
by
also,
the people.
Kathy, it's just like a job, you know, like a regular job. When we are working, we obviously are expected to at least save some money for rainy days. You know, anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
Maybe you're not able to do your job anymore because of certain circumstances, or go retire, they go to the farm, they leave that salary that they were getting, they managed to save up and buy some property and just retire peacefully without any without having to fight anyone or fighting to come back in power. So it should be like that.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so Times newspaper, we are saying, they're saying no winners or losers, HH says, and global leaders toss HH victory. President's win sparks euphoria, UPND loads Zambians. Those are the headlines in the Times of Zambia today. Rhoda, do you feel attached to any topic there? Any headline?
I think we can move.
Okay, so we have the Daily Mail, which says victory for all HH. Congratulatory messages pour in for HH. Voter education to address high rejected ballots. Tonse urges supporters to put Zambia first. And Jito says government will aggressively implement development programs. Those are the headlines in the Daily Mail today. I think that there were even rejected ballots. It's surprising, of course, but I could just see that there were 4.
What did Jito say again?
Jito says that government will aggressively implement development programs.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think in his address, you know, all these issues that people raised during campaign period, and I think he said that he is ready now to transform the macro economic developments that they've done into making sure that there's food on the table for the people.
It's very important that, you know, he heard the cries of the Zambian people, because truth be told, a lot of people were voting based on some of those issues. And so if obviously it's a listening government, and those are some of the things that the government, you know, needs to begin to work on. I think there's no time for relaxation. The Zambian people have spoken, and these are some of the things that we need to see. We know it's not going to be like a one-day thing or a one-week thing. It's development is gradual, you know, but obviously we'll begin to see a lot of things change, a lot of things come to life with what is being said. And
because, you know, his second term could be about the fact that he laid down the base in his first 5 years, and now with the second term he's now building on what he had done in the first term. And I think that in this term it's going to be very crucial, because Zambians are extra expectant of what the government will do in order to lower the cost of living and just help the Zambian live the life that they desire. But, you know, I always say that I loved one time the campaign in America, and this is the first black president. How can I forget his name?
Barack Obama.
Barack Obama. You know, I have so many things on my mind right now. And he said, yes, we can. That was the theme of his campaign. Because he said, it's not only the government or me as a leader who comes and promises you heaven. Even you as people should be willing to put in the best. And I think that President Hakainde Hichilema, when he first came in, he also emphasized that the Zambian people need to work. You know, you shouldn't just expect your government to do everything for you, but you need to work. The role of the government is to provide an environment that is conducive for everyone to be able to do what they can to contribute to the national growth as well as their own personal growth. So when we sit and complain, and when the new government comes into power, it's not that they're going to do everything and us, we have to just wait and see that things happen. You know, us as people also should play our role by making sure that things are right. But I want to emphasize that government also has a bigger part. Because, for example, if they don't provide sufficient power or electricity for people to do their job, how will Zambians be productive? So those are also important things for government to make sure that they put in the policies that help Zambians develop. And these policies are not only favoring those that are coming from outside, as people complained, that maybe people coming from outside had more benefit than the locals missing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Daily Nation, we have Let's Unite, Reconcile. Oh, we have actually run our time, our race today. So Daily Nation says, let's unite, reconcile. Mondibele rejects election results. Crackdown, Tonsa leaders rounded up. Looting, violence, Mars HH victory. Okay, so I think that will be our last paper, and indeed it is the last paper, talking about reconciliation. Is it you or Mr. Mianda who actually said, should it be about just the words that we speak? I think that was a problem in that people complained about, that even for peace, calling for peace, reconciliation, we saw no violence. We saw that a lot of words were said, but little action was actually done.
I did say that actually, that is talking about peace enough, or there is more that we can do, especially after this election. You know, it's not everybody who's gone away happy. You know, we've already heard of issues of petitioning, for this particular election, but there's need for a lot of calm, thinking through things before we take action. So it's beyond the election. There's a lot that we need to learn as Zambian people. Reconciliation is very important, because if we don't look at that particular moment and decide to reconcile, it might just grow into something bigger than that.
Yeah, and then I think my final words about this is that the president is calling for reconciliation. We also want to see him show us, because if he says, people, don't fight, don't argue, but he still has these wrangles with the opposition that are unsettled, and that sound like there's a lot of friction. How will we be peaceful? So we want to learn from the president by him taking a step and offering an olive branch to the opposition and saying, listen guys, that was a good run. Can we sort out some of these issues that we had? Because I'm here for 5 years and you were there. So the best you can do is to see how you can help the government prosper, so that even for you, when your turn comes, it won't be rough.
Exactly.
It won't be rough. It will be something that people will even accept, because they've seen how constructive your criticism of our government has been. So definitely, I'm looking forward to seeing the president walk the talk.
Absolutely. Catherine, I think it's been a great morning, recovering from the election and obviously the Daybreak Special, but we're here. And of course, just to remind you that we have a Facebook page that is PTV2 Zambia for more information. And if you cannot access us through, Topstar, then definitely you can access us through your phones. that is via Facebook. Thank you so much to everybody that has been part and parcel of the program today, to the viewers for watching, and to our guest, Mr. Wesley Mianda. Thank you so much for being part of us this morning. From the entire production crew, from myself and Catherine, it's goodbye and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.